shake my nerves and you rattle my brain. Too much love drives a man insane. You broke my will, but what a thrill. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire.
Hey, welcome to Half the Battle. You know, G.I. Joe had a lot of really well-known characters.
Characters like the Baroness, Duke, Cobra Commander.
But there were also a lot that were totally obscure. And today, we're looking at a character that wasn't just obscure, he was also baffling.
Meet Effects. This figure was released in 1994, the last year of the classic G.I. Joe line, and it had all original body parts. Since this was the final year, it should come as no surprise to you that this was the only toy Effects ever got. It is sort of amazing they were still making new characters at this point, even at the end of the toy line. But 8 out of the 44 action figures that were released that year were still new characters. Granted, I'm counting the space aliens amongst those.
Oh yeah, G.I. Joe had space aliens. I'll cover that lunacy eventually.
Anyway, the first thing you'll notice about this figure is the facial expression. Yeah, you can't really miss it. This is one unhappy dude. I mean, look at that angry face with the growling teeth. What made this guy so mad? Maybe it's his horrible haircut.
Though I suspect there may have been a different reason.
The rest of the figure is pretty unremarkable. He's got a blue jacket that's partially zipped open with a black sweater underneath, and he appears to be wearing jeans and motorcycle boots. The sad thing about this revolves around his paint applications, or should I say lack thereof. You see, the mold is actually very nicely detailed. You got pouches, a knife, and other stuff going on. But it isn't painted, so it doesn't stand out, and all the detail just sort of dissolves in the blue of the jacket. This guy could have really benefited from additional paint applications, something that was common in the 1994 line.
When we come to his accessories, we have to talk about his balls. His huge, glowing balls. I know you can't tell, but I've just got the biggest grin on my face just saying that sentence.
Behold! Effects giant orange balls. There's a logical reason for these things to exist, of course. They are part of this contraption, a small catapult that could actually launch them. They are supposed to be fireballs. Goodness gracious, these are supposed to be great balls of fire? Yeah, A for effort there. He also came with a neon green rifle, because this was G.I. Joe in 1994, and you couldn't not have neon colors in there somewhere. His final accessory is a rather silly looking helmet. It vaguely reminds me of a Sontaran helmet from Doctor Who, especially when you turn it the wrong way around, but that could be just me. There's a reason he has this helmet too. A very stupid reason we'll get to when we discuss the character.
Which we can do right now. Boom! Segway!
We'll be skipping the cartoon and comic section this time, because Effects never appeared in either, as far as I can tell. Yeah, the character portion is a bit thin this week, but hey, do you think I could find something to bitch about anyway?
Oh, hell yes!
Effects is one of those characters whose codename is also his job. He's a special effects expert. He uses his knowledge of Hollywood magic on the battlefield to trick the enemy. You know, between this guy and Psych Out, Cobra soldiers must get hella confused when fighting the Joe team. He's also an explosives expert, which goes hand in hand with the special effects work. And that's about all the file card has to say. Which is weird because there's another aspect to the guy that isn't mentioned. Effects is a member of the Star Brigade. Star Brigade is yet another sub-team in G.I. Joe, one that specializes in fighting in outer space. And now you know what the helmet is for.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe!
Yes, his entire equipment set for going into friggin' space consists of one helmet. Friends, can you pick out all the things wrong with this picture? Let's start with the open jacket. Your jacket should only be open in outer space if you're Captain Picard. Then there's the fact that his pants look like jeans. I mean, come on.
But I think we can all agree on the most baffling design choice.
His hands are freaking exposed. He's going into space with bare hands. Yeah, it's not like you need gloves or anything like that in space. I think this explains why he looks so angry. You're expecting me to boldly go somewhere wearing this? Screw you all! But wait, I hear you say, Timur, you dapper son of a gun. He could just be a guy on a spaceship or on a space station, so he doesn't need a spacesuit. After all, Captain Picard almost never looked like an astronaut. Well, yeah, I thought of that, but unfortunately, his card art looks like this. He's in outer space. By himself. Flying through space there. By the way, the card art is a much better representation of the effects character than the figure itself. At least here you can see what they were going for. There's much more color variation, and the pants and jacket look like they're part of the same spacesuit. If you go back to the pants on the figure, you can see some sculpting indicating that they aren't supposed to be jeans at all, but the lack of color variation once again makes it hard to notice. And look, he's actually wearing gloves on the card. I'd really like to know what went wrong when it came to producing this figure. The card and its art makes it look like he's in the Star Brigade, but the file card and the figure itself contradict this, a space helmet notwithstanding. Either this guy was originally supposed to be part of the regular G.I. Joe line, and he got tossed in with the Star Brigade at the last minute, giving him the helmet, and telling the art department to just space him up a little. Or he was always supposed to be a space guy, but the toy designers didn't get the memo.
I'm gonna have to go with the theory that he was dumped into the Star Brigade line at the last minute. And for proof, we have to go back to his giant balls.
More specifically, we're talking about a thing that launches his gigantic balls. The catapult. Yeah, this type of catapult is the kind that's designed to launch its payload in an arch, relying on gravity to hit its target. And you know what outer space somewhat lacks? Gravity! Well, I mean, there is gravity in space, somewhat, but you know what I mean. Suffice to say, this thing would be hugely impractical among the stars. So, that was Effects, one of the last of the original G.I. Joe characters, and a space guy that wasn't supposed to go in space, I think. Honestly, if you ignore his accessories and the whole space thing, he isn't half bad. Just have him be the special effects guy. The only unfortunate part left then, really, is the angry snarl on his face. Without that, the toy would be pretty good. As it is, though, only a completist should worry about not having this figure in their collection.
See you next week, everybody!
You shake my nerves and you rattle my brain. Too much of love drives a man insane. You broke my will, but what a thrill. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. I let you love what I thought it was funny. You came along and woo, now honey.
And your bollocks did up good, you did.
But I think we can all agree on the most baffling career? I got distracted.